The NXT roster entered the Spectrum Center running. They decided to get all energetic, feel the effects, and in the case of some of these matches, almost break their neck. Holy goddamn shit, some of the bumps on this show made me feel the full effect of just going and making sure that I held my breath. But oh boy, even with a couple pitfalls, not pitfall to mine adventure, they certainly hit a home run of a show. I'm John Renton with my review, WWE NXT Vengeance Day 2023. Not a takeover, but it felt like a takeover. It feels like home. Okay, there are going to be some criticisms I have of this show, but overall, I gotta say, pretty goddamn good. Pretty goddamn good. Is NXT ever going to be back to what it was during the, takeover, massivity of craziness and greatness and everything? I don't even think that was a full sentence or a coherent sentence. No, probably won't, but you know what? This felt more like a takeover event. It felt like they were harnessing the energy, channeling it into the flux capacitor. Yeah, this was fun. This was pretty fun, outside of a couple things. Mackenzie just looks great, by the way. I just want to say that. Congratulations to her and Vic Joseph. I wish them nothing but happiness. They on the pre-show, they had a pre-tape on Apollo and Carmelo. I wish they would let Apollo, cut more promos like this. He's very well-spoken. He has a great story to tell. I wish they had utilized him more consistently in the nearly 8 years they've had him. Believe it or not, think about it. His debut, TakeOver Brooklyn, 2015. That's insane. That's insane to think that, yes, I'm not saying he could ever be a WWE champion, but they could have utilized him better. Sure, U.S. champion and IC champion. Do you remember much of anything about those reigns? I don't. He's a great talent. Anyway, so Briggs and Jensen give Fallon and Kiana a pep talk. Fallon and Kiana, that's a hell of a goddamn tag team in the ring and nowhere else. Moving on. I did like how they had Charlotte run down the card, do this big Super Bowl type entrance. That was pretty goddamn cool. That's actually one of the best uses of Charlotte that they've, decided to show on screen in a while. That's, honestly, that was pretty goddamn good. This made it feel like a big goddamn deal. The Spectrum Center in Charlotte, I don't think it was full. 20,200 is the capacity, but even if it was just, even if they had a curtain down half of it, that crowd was pretty goddamn electric. I don't know what the exact attendance was, but they brought it. Congratulations to Charlotte. You done good. You done good, everybody. The stage gave it a fresh feel and everything. It just felt bigger, badder, bolder. And speaking of bigger, badder, and bolder, it felt like, I was landing on a few boulders watching this because it was just impactful watching Wesley against Dijak. I still don't know what Dijak's gimmick is. This was for the North American Championship, and sweet Jesus, Dijak was just landing on every part of his body, including breaking his finger at one point. His finger bending in a way that the gods did not intend. That was brutal. Very, very brutal. I don't know why in the world he feels the need to take those bumps. Just because he can doesn't mean he should. I'm a little bit worried that watch them reset his finger and just say, put a cast on, I will continue to work through it. He could do that. Of course, Vic had to work, or they had to have Vic work this line in. He feels Wes's reign is tainted and everything. Oh no, it's so tainted. Oh, tainted love, tainted love. And that being said, I like Wesley. I think Wesley is a very good talent. He'll probably just be upper mid-card at best if he ever gets to the main roster. But you know what? He'd be fine. Team with Ricochet, team with New Day, doing some stuff and going out on his own down the only road he's ever known. But he's been a fine U.S. champion. There were some great kickouts here. This was the best goddamn way to open the show. We got a Poison Rana. I hate the Poison Rana. We got a weird driver for 2, a big sit-out chokeslam for 2. This is while, by the way, his finger was not doing all that well. His finger was bent, again, in a way that God did not intend. There was the choke, the crossface chicken wing. That was fought out when it turned into rear naked choke. And then we got a big boot for 2. Kickouts all over. And a spiral tap just for 2. That really surprised me. I thought that would have been the finish right there. And then at one point, despite the fact that you can't win the championship unless you're inside the ring, Dijak gets an office chair, gets a broom that just happens to be there for no reason and traps Wesley in there and is like, I'm going to attack him. He attacks him and then he's like, I'm going to go moonsault him on this chair. This is where the match started to lose me because I'm like, what the hell? Tony D and Stacks show up to push Wesley out of the way and then Dijak crashes onto them and says, stay out of my business. But then he gets hit with that weird jump Pele kick thing that Wesley does. I don't exactly know what he calls it. 1, 2, 3. Bit of a weird conclusion there. I mean, the match was really cooking along, and in fact, I will probably still say it's one of my favorite matches of the year. But that was a bit of an odd, closing couple minutes. Nevertheless, fun enough. I hope Dijak's gonna be all right, and I hope that his finger can get put back in place. Ouch. And Cora, we get a package on Cora Jade. If there's ever a time to utilize your show with break spots of packages on potential talents to hook people to watch your television, this would be the way to do it. When the Royal Rumble did it, it just dragged the show on. This was a crisp, I think without the pre-show was just under 3 hours for 6 matches, and that's pretty good. So we get Fallon Henley and Kiana James versus Katana and Kaden. Kaden and Katana, KKK, that's not good. NXT Women's Tag Team Championship match, and I like the idea of Fallon Henley and Kiana James as a tag team. Again, in the ring and nowhere else. I think that Kaden could be a singles breakout star. Katana, I think, she's not believable. I'm sorry. She's a fine athlete, but she's not believable. This was all right. I appreciate the effort of the women here. I haven't really cared for Kaden and Katana as champions. It's probably part of the reason why I didn't care for this as much as I could have, or as much as maybe I should have. At one point, Kiana was down. Fallon had to go at it alone. We get a run off the top to a pop. But then, shortly after, we get a weird roll-up that Fallon does on... It's on one of them. I believe it was on Kaden. And Kiana holds the feet. 1, 2, 3. And there you go. Oh my goodness. New tag team champions. It's probably just as well since Kaden and Katana had been tag team champions for the longest time. For the longest time. And they'll probably get called up soon. And it was fine. That was fine. New tag team champions. That was worth it. So then we get a video package on JD McTuna and Nikita Lyons. They must have slotted this Nikita Lyons package in before realizing, oh shit, she's injured. We probably shouldn't have done that, but nevertheless. Gulak and Hank Walker were on Instagram. Whatever. And Rise of Lyra, aka Lyra Valkyria, but Rise of Lyra is funnier, challenges any of the women to face her on Tuesday. I think Valentina Perez or Mrs. Freeze decided to take her up on her challenge. Tricky Tiki Williams gives Carmelo a big old entrance with banners and everything on the screen. It was cool. Apollo versus Carmelo Hayes with Tricky Tiki Williams. 2 out of 3 falls. They went at it, tooth and nail, but they went at it actually for a little bit. Slowly building some stuff up as far as the first fall. Apollo worked on the res, but then at one point got dropped throat first on the ropes. So he's, so he has his favoring his neck and everything. That comes into play a little bit later. We get a deadlift superplex a little bit later. They pick the pace up by this point, but a crossface taps Apollo. And oh no, down 1-0. Second fall, picks up. We get a pop-up DVD. Very nice moves. Apollo, again, very good in the ring. Carmelo clearly was going to be the one to win here. I didn't think it was going to come as soon as it did. And we then get the buckle pad taken off by Tricky Tiki Williams. That backfires on Carmelo, who hits his back. And, his back, his ribs, and stuff like that. It's all being affected. So Melo may have to miss the second fall. But then suddenly Dabba-Kato shows up and stops Tricky Tiki Williams. Hands up if you forgot Dabba-Kato was still on the roster. I think a lot of people on Creative forgot he was on the roster. But then Hayes suddenly wins with the top rope leg drop anyway. 1, 2, 3. That was a bit messy. But he wins 2-0. Okay. And then Dabba-Kato shows up and says, hey, I know I used to be Commander Aziz Light. And don't worry, Apollo, I still care about you. Then he headbutts him and beats him up. And damn it, Dabba-Kato, curse your sudden and inevitable betrayal. And your sudden return that nobody asked for. So yeah, there you go. Fallon Henley and Kiana James are going to celebrate. Briggs and Jensen are going to celebrate. Oh no, don't get Briggs and alcohol involved around women. If you know, you know. But Fallon and Kiana, don't celebrate too hard or otherwise you're going to come crashing down. Speaking of crashing down. New Day, Xavier and Kofi versus Chase University's Dookie Nukie Hudson and Andre Chase with Thea Hale needing about every lozenge in the goddamn world after this match, I imagine. Pretty Deadly Glory, I don't know what their names are, I don't care. And Gallus, whichever Coffee brother isn't the one that's involved in speaking out, and Wolfgang Peterson. The director of Das Boot was in this. Actually, the director of Das Boot would have been easier to understand than anybody in Gallus. 4-way NXT title match. I ask what happened to the NXT tag division. Some people may have liked this. To me, this was a low point. By God, this was a low point. My God, this match was horrible. One of the worst matches I have seen NXT put on a big event or on television in months. It was a mess. I'm sick of these 4-way matches. I'm sick of these multi-person matches, even though I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself. If there's a story, it makes sense. There wasn't a story here. It was just a bunch of teams doing stupid shit. I hate the Chase University stuff. I absolutely hate it. I know some people like it, and that's fine. You guys can like it all you damn well want. But Booker's commentary, Thea's screaming, and all this comedy bullshit, especially Pretty Deadly Glory. Anytime Pretty Deadly Glory breathe on television, it's embarrassing to professional wrestling. I don't want anything bad to happen to the people, but I mean as a gimmick, the gimmick is terrible. It's not good, it's bad for wrestling. And then we get 2 giant pile dives. Everybody piles up and then dive, and then pile up and then dive. Announcer's table bump. Gallus won by pinning Xavier during Black History Month. I think Hulk Hogan booked this. Okay, so New Day and Pretty Deadly Glory are probably going to be called up. I don't really know what the point was of giving New Day the tag titles. If you were just going to take them off of them here, I would have given them to Inoue and Blade. Whatever, give them to Gallus. Give them the Gallus, and then we can try to hear them say NXT tag titles and see if they can make any sense, except they can't. I can't ever understand a goddamn thing Gallus says. And then we get, again, Mackenzie showing recaps of, Nikita, the attack on Nikita in the parking lot. And maybe it's Zoe Stark. No, Zoe was just in the parking lot reminiscing because she was actually in attendance when the first automobile came off of the assembly line. See, because she actually encouraged Henry Ford to do the 5-day work week. She actually was telling him, these are how you need to do your labor laws. This is how you need to do that or whatever. You should make these tires a little thicker. She was able to school Henry Ford because she was there when the first wheel was invented, back when the cavemen did it. Okay, enough age jokes about Zoe. She looks like the succubus from VHS's Amateur Night. That's mean. That's mean. But anyway, again, when she was in school, they didn't have history. Her social security number's 1. She was roommates with Bobby Fish during the Civil War. So anyway, JC, by God, Jane. Good grief, JC Jane is just captivating. JC Jane and Gigi Dolan and Roxanne did not have a red dress on because she was in her wrestling gear to defend the title held by Roxanne. Defend the title held by Roxanne. Enough of that. 3-way NXT Women's Championship match. 2-on-1 for a while, and basically Roxanne had to work the numbers advantage back into her favor by getting JC and Gigi to bump into each other enough to where they would eventually turn on each other. Giggity. JC just makes the most of her TV time. I love her. I love JC Jane. And Gigi, met her when she was Priscilla Kelly at multiple indie shows. I'm all for her getting shots. I just think as far as singles potential, I think JC has the more of a chance to break out. And then eventually Roxanne does, come back, firing back. We do get a couple spots where there's a table out, and then for no goddamn reason, I just happened to be on Twitter during this, and Skinny Mysterio said she called one of them, and I think you can guess which one this is. Drugged out looking wench. Thanks, Taryn. Thanks, Taryn. Skinny Mysterio is a great goddamn follow on Twitter. You will never be disappointed following Taryn. You may be questioning how her mind works. I know I do. And that's coming from me. That's saying something. But Taryn is hilarious. Gigi takes a table bump, taking wood all over her back, and then Super Pop Rocks 1, 2, 3. Okay, I would have had Gigi take the pin. Maybe they were more comfortable with JC taking that top rope bump. I don't know. But there you go. So Roxanne retains. That was fine. That was fine for what it was. Package on Carmelo, and he will be called up soon. Not too soon, though. Or maybe he won't be called up. Grayson Waller comes out in the Steiner chainmail with a bunch of gals and champagan. I didn't realize you were such a coin-ass sore. And gold sneakers. The gold sneakers didn't come into play, by the way. Steiner makes his entrance, and there was a young woman in a beanie in the first shot that was having absolutely none of his goddamn shit. That was great. Whoever she is, that was great shit. She just was like, I am having none of this. It was great. And I like Steiner. I'm just saying it was too comical to ignore. Steiner and Waller, steel cage match for the NXT Championship. Only by pinfall or submission, which I like, because the escaping the cage thing got old after a while. That was a WWE rule that had bled into a few other like promotions. But steel cage matches are supposed to be the final, like death nail to a feud. Waller, I hate how insufferably good he is in the ring. I hate it. I hate it because he frustrates me. I can't stand his character, which I know is the idea, but he is going, barring injury, he is going to be one of the guys to watch, not just in NXT, but on the main roster. He is insufferably good at what he does. And Steiner is a fucking prodigy. He's great, just like his dad. They used the weapon as a cage. Shout out to Rich Brennan, used the weapon as a ladder. Big Frankensteiner for 2, that friggin' float over unprettier. I don't even know what to call it besides that. That was great. Steiner gets tied up in the ropes, beaten, speared a couple times, or tackled, or, boom, boom, shoulder blocked a couple times. He fires up. Then gets hit with a low blow and a roll stunner. 1, 2, kick out. Waller goes up top, but then big superplex from near the top of the cage by Steiner. Hits a spear, no cover. He says, this is my dog pound. Now you're going to suffer. Waller tells him to hit him. Gets hit with a spear. 1, 2, 3. And there you go. Pretty good cage match. I mean, I guess you can kind of say it was a bit of a letdown. People say that Steiner's feuds are, or his reign has been kind of mid, so to speak. I can't argue that a lot of the feuds haven't been all that great, but he's been improving dramatically. That match against Paulo was pretty good. The feud with Waller was actually pretty good, all things considered. Hayes, Tricky Ticky Williams come out to the stage, and there you go. That should actually probably be your stand and deliver event, but the thing is Carmelo is ready to be called up. Steiner is ready to be called up. Are we going to have Carmelo beat Steiner at stand deliver and him come up after SummerSlam? Because I'm not saying hotshot people, but there's a bunch of turnover they got to have. And also with the potential of a sale, you might need to kind of clear out a lot of NXT. But that being said, pretty good event overall. I didn't like the Fatal 4-Way Tag match, but nevertheless. Agree, disagree what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. Twitter handle, that is. I can speak English. I'm tired. I've been up since 3 a.m. I'm sorry. I'm John Rickland. I'll see you soon.